Hello, and welcome back to Astrology Updates with your host, Lux. It has been a long time since my last update, which was the beginning of March of this year in 2020, the very beginning of March. And then my partner and I, with his parents, went to Mexico for a while. And it was while we were in Mexico that the global crisis really expanded in North America. And that is a phrase that I will be using to refer to the situation we are currently in. It is now the beginning of May 2020. I didn't really intend for there to be so much distance in between the updates. I really wanted to keep them consistent. But I'm sure, as with many of you, the global crisis really has shook up our lives. So I've been riding out the waves of emotional roller coasters like never before, trying to find motivation and working on this update. And really, guys, this is going to be a big update. That is why it's taken so long. And so this is going to be a long stream of consciousness. I'm not going to be doing any editing on this video. I haven't done any editing on videos. It's always just me sharing the information that I have. At some point, I'll get fancy with it. I'll get the lighting and add music and stuff. But really, right now, I want to share this information with you guys. So thanks for just tuning in and listening to what is going on. This is not an update. So this is a little bit different than the past. This is not an update for what is necessarily happening right now. I'm filming this on May 3rd. Usually I like to do the updates where it's like, okay, what's been going on? What is going on? What can we expect? This is different. This update, as you see from the title, it is all about the outer planets and their transits through Capricorn. And I had to do a lot of exploration, a lot of research to really understand what these stories of the planets were trying to tell me. And really, I had to trust the timing on it too, because guys, I wanted to get this done. We got back from Mexico and I was like, all right, it's crisis. Like, we're in a crisis state. I want to help. I want to share my information. I want to share what I know. But I had to trust the timing of it and how this is all coming together. So, the global crisis, that's what I'm using to refer to the situation. There's so many different words and phrases that people are using to describe what we're going through. So, my intention with this video is to tell you about Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto in their transits of Capricorn that has been happening over the past decade, and how that really kind of paints a picture. It makes things a little bit more clear once you're understanding this information about what's going on. So, to start off, I want to be clear that I'm not saying that any specific planetary conjunction specifically caused the crisis to happen, because astrology isn't necessarily causation. It's more of a correlation. So there's a correlation between what's happening in our cosmos and what's happening with us. And they're very much connected, and everything is intertwined in such that everything is connected to everything in this cosmic web. So yes, we are impacted by the transits of our planets, but I'm not saying that anything specifically in this video is what caused the crisis. The cosmos is here to support us. They are not our enemy in the sense that, oh my gosh, Saturn went in conjunct with Pluto and it just caused this whole thing to happen. No. I will explain how these different conjunctions are supporting us through times of transformation, major times of transformation. Pluto is all about transformation, and Pluto is showing up in big ways. Pluto is all about the death and rebirth cycle, which is very painful, but Pluto wants to bring destruction in order to move forward, in order to make space for something new. And the other planets of Saturn, which is the planet of authority, integrity, showing up in your truth, and doing the things that you say you want to do. And then Jupiter, I'm going to go way more into details. This is just a little bit of, hey, this is what this video is about. Jupiter is all about expansion and opportunities and potential. So I'm going to explain how those energies, as they have been transiting Capricorn over the past decade, have been kind of preparing us to be where we're at right now and are supporting us and influencing our energy as we go through this crisis state. So the other thing I want to mention in reference to our global crisis, why I'm choosing to use that phrase, is because it resonates with me the most. Not so much that, we're in a crisis and it's the end of the world. I don't think we're going to be experiencing a whole lot of apocalyptic end of the world, but it absolutely is the end of an old world, end of old systems. And I'll be going more into that. So the crisis is, and I like the word global because we are sharing this experience globally. This is such a shared experience for our global collective. And we are in a state of crisis in so many different ways. So with that, I want to share that I am aware that my perspective is very westernized. I come from America. I am born and raised Montanan. I am currently in Alberta, Canada, writing out our quarantine together, my partner and I, up here in Canada. So that is the perspective that I'm coming from. And I'm going to be using words like we and us. And when I use those words, I'm intending to come from a global experience, but also my Western experience. And I am aware that I can't share all perspectives from all cultures. There's so many different groups impacted in so many different ways. I could never, I wouldn't be able to say this is the experience of the native people on this side of the planet in North America. I couldn't say that because I don't have that experience. This is coming from where I'm coming from. And in doing that, I am not at all trying to invalidate other people and say, well, if you did or didn't experience this, then you're right or wrong. Or this is my experience. And my intention is to share cosmological information, astrology, information specifically, and give some context to the crisis. And hopefully give you some validation, those who have a similar experience of mine. Even if you don't have a similar experience, if you're coming from a completely different background, this information is intended to provide you with some context. So lastly, each one of us are experiencing this crisis so differently. None of us are having the same exact experience in life, and especially in this crisis. And so it's important moving forward as you're listening to this information. No, I'm sharing my experience and my observations of my field of awareness, as well as what I am intuitively picking up on our human collective consciousness energy. Okay? And that's my experience and my interpretation of it. But as with anything, take in this information and feel how it resonates with you and contextualize it for your experience. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of your natal chart. Maybe more this way, your natal chart, which essentially is the blueprint for your life. It is where the planets and stars were at on the moment of your birth and the location of your birth. And that natal chart kind of gives you an idea of how we are interpreting all these different energies in the cosmos. So each one of our blueprints are vastly unique, so personalized. And I will be talking at the end of this video about natal charts. It is something that I have slowly started dipping my toes in, reading people's natal charts, doing natal chart readings for people. So I'll be talking at the end of this video about that. And if you're interested in getting your natal chart read by me, tune into the end of the video on how to do that. So let's get started. I talked about this in another video, but I want to bring it back because it lays such an amazing foundation. It's a great analogy for astrology. And that is that all of the planets are like storytellers. They're like performers, actors, entertainers. They're this creative energy telling a story. They have specific stories, specific resonances that they want to communicate, that they want to share with our solar system and beyond. And then we have the zodiac signs. So each of the planetary bodies move in through our solar system and transit the different zodiac signs. And those zodiac signs are like the theme that the story plays out in. So these storytellers are telling a story, and the signs help kind of shape the way that those stories are being told in such that this is the theme in which those stories are being told. So the theme that we are going to be talking all about today is Capricorn, which is kind of like, wait, why are we talking about Capricorn? Because this is May and we're in Taurus season. Again, this is not an update for right now. I will be working on an update for right now for after this video, but this one is so amazing. When we look at the outer planets in Capricorn, lots of major energy there. So what is Capricorn? What is the theme of Capricorn? Capricorn is all about organization, structure, creating and building a plan and following that plan to success, getting to the top of the mountain. Capricorn is symbolized by the goat, and goats can traverse the most tumultuous terrain. Traverse the most tumultuous terrain. Traverse the most tumultuous terrain. Okay, leave the comment below if you can say that 5 times fast. Capricorns can traverse the most tumultuous terrain to get to the top of the mountain. And that's what Capricorns are all about, that drive, that ambition to just keep going and using that order, that structure, categorizing things, making sense of, okay, where do things go? How can we lay things out in the most effective way to get to the top? That's Capricorn energy. And they're kind of known for being a little bit pessimistic, maybe a little bit like rude or harsh sometimes. This is just Capricorn energy overall. I'm not talking about any one specifically, just Capricorn energy can be a little bit pessimistic because they're very much realists. They're not going to blow smoke up your you-know-what to make you feel better, like some other signs will do. And be like, oh yeah, no, it's... Geminis will be like, yeah, totally possible. This is, here's all this optimism and potential. And in reality, Capricorns are not going to say that they're going to do something if they're not going to do it. And they're not going to, they're only going to show up if they can show up. So there's kind of like no BS when it comes to Capricorns, because Capricorns realize the importance of honesty in terms of its effectiveness. Dishonesty is not effective, because it leads to complications. It leads to struggles. If eventually the dishonesty is going to come to light, and that's just going to take more time than it needs. So Capricorn's like, I'm going to be real, upfront, and blunt. So there's that kind of harshness energy to Capricorns. And very much wanting the truth, because that's the most effective. So that's kind of the basis. We'll be talking about more of Capricorn as the planets and their interactions with those. So the first planet I want to talk about in Capricorn is Pluto. Pluto entered Capricorn all the way back in 2008. I'm not sure the exact time. You can absolutely look that up if you're interested, but it was in 2008 that Pluto entered Capricorn and has stayed there and will continue to stay there. I think until 2023. Don't quote me on that. I should know that. But it's still there, and it's going to be there for a while. Pluto is going to be in Capricorn. And I will put the specific date in my descriptions, because there's lots of dates, transits. I will be putting all of that in the notes. So if you're trying to take notes on these dates and things kind of get a little confuzzled, all of these transits that I'm going to be explaining, specifics will be in the details below. So Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. What does that mean? Pluto is the detective. Pluto wants to get to the bottom of everything. Pluto is in charge of all of the hidden energy, like the dark and the unseen, the parts of ourselves, the parts of society, the parts of the collective consciousness that don't want to be seen, that want to stay hidden. And Pluto is like, let's show those things. When Pluto shows up, all those hidden, dark, our deepest fears, our deepest secrets come to light. And that has absolutely been happening since Capricorn has been, Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008. Lots of hidden secrets. If you've been following any sort of disclosure information, I'm huge on looking for the hidden truths and if they're being exposed. And since 2008, little tiny bits of pieces of information have been coming out, and even more so now. In this crisis state, we are being shown the deep, dark parts. If you know where to look, and if you're willing to look, the hidden truths that our society has been built on are coming to light. And Pluto is not a soft, fuzzy energy either. So Pluto is actually really comfortable in Capricorn because Pluto is very destructive. Like, I like to think of Pluto as like, I came in like a wrecking ball, and I'm really gonna mess it up, with the intention of breaking apart that which isn't working, that which is not supporting you as an individual, but more so on the collective. Since Pluto is in the very like far reaches of the space, it really encompasses not as much the individual experience, but everything is an individual and outer experience. Pluto is really about the collective experience, about broadening its energy to support the collective. And so we are experiencing all sorts of breaking down in many ways. And that's been really painful in this crisis state. The showing up of Pluto in Capricorn is not comfortable, because Capricorn is about order and systems and structure, very much like government, and our education system really highlights Capricorn energy in big ways. Not entirely, because from my perspective, the government really doesn't follow the truth-seeking or the being honest part of Capricorn. And that's where Pluto is going to come in and look at those structures, look at those systems of power and go, what is not working? What are you trying to hide? Because if you're trying to hide something, that isn't going to be helpful. So that's where we're seeing all sorts of death and destruction in a figurative sense around systems of power, but also in a literal sense in the death and rebirth cycle. I don't know anybody personally who has died from this crisis, but I know that it is happening. And the grief that we are experiencing as a collective is really intense. And the emotional energy right now is so intense. And I don't think it really matters necessarily if you identify as somebody who is an empath or who is sensitive. What all those words really just describe people who are tuned in to the energetic language. And we are all tuned in to the energetic language at our own different capacities. So whether or not you think or feel or label as someone who's tuned in, you're still feeling it subconsciously, and you may be wondering obviously the crisis is going on, but we're all feeling this death and rebirth cycle really intensely. So I want to make space for that grief that each of you are feeling, because even if somebody hasn't literally died in your lives, there has been so much death and ending that has come about through this crisis. People have lost their jobs, their livelihoods, their businesses, so many opportunities for students, like people who are graduating, all these different experiences that happen around this time of the year. People are not getting to do a lot of things. And some of the things are really tiny, but some of those things are very big. And I want to say that the more we judge each other and our grieving experiences, the more conflict we are bringing to our crisis. And conflict leads to stress and leads to disease. Conflict, literally the energy of shame, blame, judgment. This has been scientifically proven. If you have Gaia, access to Gaia, or even just look up Greg Braden, he explains this concept beautifully, about how the energies of shame, blame, and just those constricting energies literally take your DNA and constrict the DNA molecules down and down and down. So that constricting energy literally recoils the molecules within our body and makes them so tight that they can't form to their highest potential, that they are dying, and that the dying of the cells because of these constricting energies, doctors call it stress. Stress is one of the leading causes of disease, really. And I'm saying dis-ease because it's the dis-ease in our body. Disease is a lot of it comes from the stress we are being put under through societal constructs, through all these different ways that we are being exposed to stress. And so when we're sitting in a place of judgment of others through this crisis, it's bringing more stress, which is going to create more illness. And I'm not saying that stress causes the virus. No, not saying that. I'm saying that our bodies are hosts to the virus. And if your body is in a state of dis-ease, that host is going to be like, oh yeah, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This level of toxicity. Viruses need toxicity to thrive in your body. Viruses use that to spread its virusiness. I am not an immunologist, by the way, obviously. I'm just speaking from what I know. So viruses need that toxicity to exist and to really make an impact in your body. So the more stress you have, the sicker you're going to get, whether it's this virus or whether it's, any other sort of disease. So in saying that, what I'm intending to say is when we can step into compassion for ourselves first and go, okay, I am grieving right now in big ways. I have lost so much. I know so many people who have lost so much. And we hold space for that compassion, we hold space for that pain that each of us are feeling and going, okay, I might not understand why you're choosing to say the things you're saying or do the things you're doing. I might not understand that, but I trust that that's just what you need to do right now, to grieve, to go through this process. So when you show up with as much compassion for yourself and compassion for your people, that's where the healing comes from. So I want to say that because it's been quite, honestly, one of the most difficult parts for this experience for us, because we haven't changed a whole bunch. Like neither of us have a full-time job working anywhere, so our schedules hasn't really changed. The big thing that's changed is our mindsets, our awareness of the dark truths, and having to watch people on social media belittle, shame, and blame people for how we're reacting in this crisis situation. Telling people what to think, how to act, based on their own fear-based responses. And that's really overwhelming because each of us, we don't know how to go through this. Guys, nobody knows how to go through this. We have never experienced anything like this because Pluto's coming in and wrecking everything, everywhere. And we've never experienced anything like this. So we're just doing our best. Each one of us, I sincerely believe, are doing our best to get through this crisis situation and showing up in fear. So if you want to hear more about that, holding space for people's compassion, I'm going to link Lee Harris's energy update. He did one in mid-March, right as this whole thing started going, and he spoke some amazing words about that. So I'll make sure to link that. So thank you for listening to me on that. It's really, for me, important to hold as much compassion as I can for people and try not to judge people who think very differently than I do and are reacting very differently than I am. That's important for me. So I wanted to share that because Pluto in Capricorn is, like I said, bringing all sorts of transformations. So I'm going to come back to Pluto's energy because Pluto, as it's been transiting Capricorn, has also went in conjunct with Saturn and Jupiter. What that means is they intersect. Obviously, they're not in the same points in space, but they're at the same degree from which we are viewing them. And so, essentially, when they go conjunct, those two energies hit, they're two different symbols, and they hit and they make quite a resonancy. So I will be explaining those as we get into Saturn and Jupiter. So Saturn, we're moving away from Pluto. We're moving away from the death and the destruction. I mean, we're not moving away from them because Saturn or Pluto is here to make things happen, guys. Okay? And Pluto also just went into retrograde. I'm gonna bring that back. I'm gonna bring that back at the end, Pluto going into retrograde, but that just happened on April 25th. So there's been a major shift there. But yeah, we're gonna leave that and then move on and come back to it. So Saturn is all about authority, all about integrity. Saturn kind of has a rap for being harsh because Saturn's another no BS kind of energy. Saturn is actually the ruler of Capricorn. So every zodiac sign is ruled by a specific planetary body. So Saturn is actually in its home field advantage, if you will, when it's in Capricorn, because Capricorn and Saturn energy are very, very similar. It's all about creating boundaries, creating structures for you to be confident and doing what it is that you need to do. And Saturn is going to hold you accountable for what it is you said you want to do. And I'm not saying like what you say out loud. This is all energetics. So in your subconscious or in the deepest parts of your mind, these thoughts, feelings, desires that maybe you haven't shared out loud with anyone else, or maybe you're sharing them with someone you feel comfortable with, but you're like, ooh, this is something that I feel like I should do, or not should, but like I want to do this thing. I'm being called to do this thing. But I'm not really sure. Saturn's like, hey, that thing, you got to do it. You got to do it because it's your truth, the thing that resonates with you the most. Saturn is going to come in and ask you questions. How are you being integral? Are you showing up in the way that your soul's purpose is showing up? And that can cause a lot of unease, especially in our society right now, because on the whole, we're not really supported to fulfill our soul's purpose. We're kind of supported to fulfill honestly, it's kind of like the energy of Capricorn, where it's like, okay, here's your structure, follow this plan to success. Go to school, get degrees, go to higher education, get a job, go work up the ladder of success. That is such a Capricorn thing, working up the ladder to success to get to the top. And that has been what society has pressured us to believe that is what success is. And Saturn is like, you know what? Actually, no. Because even though Saturn rules Capricorn, none of the cosmic energy is here to tell you what to do specifically, the rules to follow. It's all about what do you feel is true for you? And Saturn's going to come in and be like, what you feel is true for you, and you got to show up in that. So Saturn in Capricorn is really big for a lot of reasons. The first being, so I'm going to do a whole video about this concept, and it is this concept of Saturn returns. So for anyone that was born in 1959 to 1961, as well as 1989 to 1991, I'm pretty sure those dates are right. I will make sure to get them right in the descriptions. You most likely have Saturn in Capricorn in your birth chart. And what that means is when Saturn entered Capricorn, all the way back in December of 2017, you started either your first, if you were born in the more recent years, or your second, if you were born in the later years, of your Saturn returns. A Saturn return, in general, is when Saturn returns to the place in the sky, in the way that we view it, that it was when you were born. And that is kind of like a coming of age moment. They say it happens around age 28 to 20 or 30, when the very first one. Because apparently Saturn takes about 29 years to go around its evolution. Yeah. Revolution? Y'all, I'm an amateur astrologist. You know that. But it takes about 30 years to revolve. Evolution, to revolve around the sun. But I'm just starting my Saturn return because I actually have Saturn in Aquarius, and Saturn just left Capricorn. So it's been in Capricorn from December of 2017 until just recently, March 21st, it entered Aquarius. So I'm 26 and I just started my Saturn return. So around that time, it's kind of like that coming of age of Saturn's kind of like the authoritative parent that is like, hey, did you get your homework done? Hey, did you get your chores done? Hey, did you do those things? That's obviously in the egoic frame of our reference point. But it's really like coming in and being like, hey, are you showing up in your most authentic energy? And if not, then I'm going to put you through the ringer to support you in getting rid of the things that don't work anymore, and making changes based on what supports you and your authentic energy. So I'm going to go into Saturn returns, like I said, in a big way in a different video because, like I said, I'm just going into my Saturn return in Aquarius, and those of you in the dates that I mentioned just finished a Saturn return, which is a really big deal, and I want to go into it more later. So, yeah, Saturn and Capricorn is quite a powerful energy because we've got this kind of harshness of both Saturn and Capricorn, of this kind of like blatant, harsh, brutally honest energy that doesn't sugarcoat anything and is like, all right, we got to get to the bottom of this. We got to, and Pluto is still there. Pluto and Capricorn's energy is still showing up and being like, okay, where's the truths? Let's expose the truths. And Saturn is coming in and is kind of just refining everything. The rings of Saturn are to symbolize the boundaries and the limitations. It's also, they're made of ice, so it's kind of cold and maybe not necessarily comfortable to be restricted this way. And it makes me think of the lockdown that we're in, because Capricorn is all about your career, and that was something that I didn't mention in the beginning of explaining Capricorn. So Capricorn is an earth sign. All the different signs are correlated to different elements. And the earthly realm that Capricorn governs is the career aspect. Acquiring the earthly material supplies in order to build a solid foundation for you to be successful, for you to provide. Excuse me. Whew. I took some vitamins and now they're coming up. Tasty. So, Capricorn is all about providing for your family, providing for who you feel you're responsible for by being successful in your career. Capricorn is all about your personal image. How are you showing up in the world? And right now, maybe this will change in the future, but right now, how you show up in the world is all about your job. People ask, oh, what do you do? And you automatically talk about your career, because that is the basis for our society right now on how we identify. Like I said, is it going to change? I don't know, but that's how it has been. So Capricorn is all about your kind of career and building a legacy. So Saturn's going to come in that Capricorn energy, and it's like, all right, how are we building our legacies? How are we building our careers? How we're being true to ourselves? And I have seen a surge of entrepreneur energy. Since I've been an entrepreneur since 2012, wanting to work for myself, the desire to build something for myself in the way that I want to do it. Because I am all about authentic energy. I'm all about like, hey, if this is what society wants me to do, I might just do the exact opposite. Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius rising. We'll talk all about Aquarius energy in a little bit. So Saturn is supporting a restructuring, a reframing of what it means to be successful in our careers. And that's where I have seen so much power and excitement, especially people who have Saturn Capricorn in their chart are major entrepreneurs, are major, absolutely about, I'm going to build my career in the way that's most authentic to me. And that's been a huge conversation right now, is how are we building success in a way that works for us? And I'm going to talk a little bit about wealth disparity when it comes to Jupiter, because when we're talking about career, it's really difficult not to talk about finances, but that Jupiter comes in when we're talking about wealth and finances. So Saturn is more about the actual action of our careers, what it is we're doing to build our legacy, and is it being authentic and true to us? So that's where Saturn and Capricorn was all about. March 21st, March 21st on the spring equinox. It was quite an amazing astrological day. March 21st of this year, Saturn left Capricorn, and for the time being is in Aquarius. Saturn will go retrograde on May 14th. So we have Pluto in retrograde as of April 25th, and we will have Saturn in retrograde as of May 14th. Nope, that's Jupiter. Saturn is May 12th. Basically the same time, just a couple days apart. Saturn will go retrograde on the 12th, and then so will Jupiter. So by the 15th of this month, guys, we will have these outer bodies that I'm talking about going retrograde. And so Saturn will go back out of Aquarius and back into Capricorn energy. And then we've got Jupiter in Capricorn as well. So before I want to talk about Jupiter in Capricorn, I want to just touch real quick. You know what? I'll save it for the end. Saturn and Aquarius, because that is going to be more of where we're going. Right now I'm explaining where have we been? Where are we at? Saturn and Aquarius brings me so much joy, so much excitement. Again, Aquarius rising, I am so pro Aquarius energy. There's lots of hope that comes with Aquarius energy. So I'm going to talk about that at the end. I'm going to continue on in the Capricorn train though, just to stay focused on our theme that we are telling these stories in. So Jupiter in Capricorn. I love Jupiter. Jupiter is because it's like an optimistic planet. I am very much the optimist. I'm not exactly sure where that comes out in my charts. Maybe it's the Leo. My Jupiter is in Libra. I'm still figuring out all these different pieces, guys. There's so much that goes along with this. But Jupiter is all about expansiveness. Jupiter is the biggest celestial body in our solar system. So think big opportunity, possibility. Jupiter is going to show up and look at the situation and go, okay, how can I make this bigger? How can I expand this? Where are possibilities? Jupiter is all about innovative thinking. All right, where have we not been looking? Where can we look that we haven't quite been focusing on, that maybe an opportunity can come out of that? So Jupiter is all very supportive of growth and expansion. And I'm so thankful for that energy because Jupiter entered Capricorn in just the end of 2019. So right as we were beginning this huge major shift because of this global crisis, Jupiter showed up. And I do want to mention the Pluto and Saturn conjunction. That happened January 12th. I've got my little cheat sheet here, guys, because I'm great with dates, but there are so many specific dates, and I'm still not getting them all right. So January 12th of 2020, Pluto in Saturn went conjunct. And they had the beautiful expansive energy of Jupiter to support them in that, because that was a catalyst of energy. Pluto is transformation, death, destruction. And Saturn is all about discipline and authority and showing up in your truth and being real to you and no BS. So these two very hard, very intense planets coming together are catalysts, energy. And that has set us off into this amazing state of transformation and death and rebirth. And that's the part of Pluto that is really important, that I don't know if we can feel that right now. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of ending. There's a lot of destruction. But in doing that, we're making way. We're clearing out room for orders, systems, and structures that actually work for us. That fulfill the greater need. So, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. If you guys want specific informations on the Pluto-Saturn conjunctions, I just recommend looking them up. People have made all sorts of hour-long videos just on these conjunctions. So I'm really just here to tell you that they happened, give you a general idea of what that meant, and allow you to go on your merry way in your research. Because that's I mean, really what I do to create these is lots of research and lots of intuitive guiding as I create this content. So Jupiter was there to support this intense conjuncture back in January, and Jupiter is showing up to this transformation party to go, all right, guys, we've got this. We can do this. There's so many different possibilities. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is we're at this standstill. We're at this point where the future is unknown. And that's really uncomfortable for Capricorn energy. Capricorns are the futurizers. They want to plan for the future. They want to create a path to success. And that's really difficult right now because we don't know what the future is supposed to be. There is no going back to normal. Normal wasn't working. Pluto says so. Pluto's coming in and getting rid of that which isn't working. Normal wasn't working. And we see that now with all of the transformation we're going through. We see the wealth disparity, that people losing their jobs. How can the system that we have been relying on, that we've been listening to, that we've been paying money to, our hard-earned money, how has that system been allowed to be so weak? I mean, we throw in this crisis situation and everything crumbles. People are losing their livelihoods. And yes, we're being given stimulus checks, but it's very obvious that that's not enough. It's not enough because the system that was in place was never meant to support us. It's meant to support a specific group of people, and then the rest of us are just meant to fend for ourselves. And now here we are in this crisis state trying to fend for ourselves and going, hey, you're not helping us, systems of power. You're actually, you've never really truly been helping us. You've just been creating this illusion to make us feel safe, to make us believe, oh, things are in general, but So, Jupiter's going to come in. Jupiter has been here and is going, all right, all of your frustrations, I hear you. All of these ways you want to transform, I support you. I support you in those transformations, in balancing out wealth disparities and power discretions, and showing up to give us kind of like, you think of Jupiter being the biggest planet, right? It's bringing so much light and energy in our goals. And so Jupiter in Capricorn is actually not the happiest. Jupiter is not at home in the restrictive energy of Capricorn. However, it can adapt, as all of us can, and go, all right, well, I'm going to reframe my ideas, my goals, in a way that's realistic and practical. And I saw that in a big way in 2020. Before this global crisis got to North America, the months of January and February, for me and the people within my circle, there were big months. People were creating new businesses. I started unleashing themagicwithin.com, which is my space to share all of my magical journey. And there were so many people everywhere using this energy of Jupiter in Capricorn and looking at our goals and getting rid of the ones that were just kind of out there and going, okay, oh, well, that isn't really practical. How can we make these practical? Taking these big ideas, these big expansive opportunities, and getting focused in them. And I turned my notifications off. Thank you very much. How does that happen? I am not a structured person, okay? Capricorn and I'm the best friends with structure. I like to free flow. I like to just kind of go with the flow. But since 2020, I've been using my journal and I've been like getting very specific on the things that I'm doing and how I'm spending my time. And I'm looking at that now, realizing that is a very Jupiter and Capricorn thing to do. Here, I've been tracking all of the ways I've been working. I'm not getting paid, really, in general. And I'm okay with that because the things that I'm doing are my passions. They're my missions. And I've been tracking that. So it's been kind of like this Jupiter Capricorn energy for me in my little planner. So I'm curious how Jupiter and Capricorn was impacting you in the beginning of the year. And then the crisis shows up and it changes everything. All sorts of people's plans for the businesses that they were creating or wanting to create are out the window. And now we're having to rethink about and reevaluate, okay, well, what are we doing? And again, that's so difficult when looking at the future, there's so much uncertainty. And April 4th, Pluto and Jupiter went conjunct. So, oh my goodness, duly noted. Don't try to take your vitamins before you do a video. Thank you. So, Pluto and Jupiter went conjunct. And again, Pluto brings that transformation, that destructive energy, and pairs it with the opportunistic and expansive energy of Jupiter. And that creates a big opportunity for transformation in an exciting, innovative new way. And I'm very curious to see how that energy continues to play out, because Pluto and Jupiter go conjunct once every 13 years. But because of the retrogrades that all these planets are going through, Pluto goes conjunct with Jupiter 2 more times this year. So we've got a lot of expansive, transformational energy. Pluto is the smallest planet in the sky, right? So we think of that contracting energy, things getting smaller, being stuck in place, losing opportunities, losing situations, right? The coming to an end of things. And Jupiter is the opportunity and seeing things in a new light. And so those two kind of macrocosm and microcosm energies are showing up in the energy of systems, orders, organization, and bringing all sorts of transformation energy. So I think I've repeated myself a lot. If you can't tell, the idea here is we are going through so much transformation. And very big, powerful areas of our lives. Our lives as individuals, our lives as nations, our lives as a global collective experience. So, Jupiter will go retrograde May 14th, and in doing so will conjunct with Pluto again on June 30th. We will see another conjunction of that transformation and innovative, expansive energy. And then again, November 12th. So the whole year of 2020, guys, is all about getting rid of that which is not working. Systems, structures, ways of organizations, ways of building careers, ways of building legacies, and completely transforming those in a very unfortunately destructive way, but it's a part of the universal law that you must clear out old to bring in the new. That message has been coming to me in all sorts of different media, intuitive messages, that we cannot welcome in anything new until we get rid of the old. And all of the old wasn't working. It was not working. For the most of us, we were struggling to get by. People had to work 2 jobs, just not even to create a legacy. Forget about creating a legacy. It was just to survive. And now those topics, rent, living wage, all of these things that we've been talking about, that we've been like, this isn't fair. And now it's brought to the surface. All of our issues, all of our dirty laundry has been brought to the surface. And in doing that, there is a grieving process, because as we find more hidden truths, as the dark parts of our history come to light, we grieve that which we thought was true and wasn't. And we grieve that which we thought was possible that won't be. And in that grieving process, we say goodbye. And we're also grieving, that which we thought was possible could have been hopes and dreams that Jupiter brought. And now, with this conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto is going to be like, well, I'm actually going to transform everything that you were planning, and now you got to figure it out in a whole new way. But we are adaptive. We are an adaptive species. We are an adaptive planet. Look at Gaia, you guys. Look at what she's doing right now. How she's adapting and healing through this. And there is so much goodness that Gaia has to offer. As you know, I'm beginning to start to end this. I want to share, as you're going through and coping with all this transformation, get outside and listen to Mother Earth. Ask her what she has to offer. So much love and so much wisdom, so much to support us in this time of rebirth. We've been in this destructive state, and now we are able to slowly but surely start rebuilding. That is the energy of May, is birthing, the birthing process into something new. And the birthing process, I have never, I'm not a mother, so I don't know it, but I can understand that the birthing process itself is painful. But as we birth something new, that newness, that potential, that possibility, it's there. And we are a resilient species as well. We are resilient, we are adaptable, and we will get through this. With pain, with frustration, please, with as much kindness as you can, with as much compassion as you can. Because while the energies of judgment, shame, and blame constrict our DNA, the energies of love and compassion expand our DNA to the point where it can even replicate itself and heal itself. Our bodies are amazing at healing ourselves when we're being with ourselves and holding compassion and understanding for our own trauma. There's a lot of traumatic situations happening right now. So, to end, I want to talk about the retrogrades. Pluto will be is in retrograde right now. And as with any retrograde, for any planet, it is the opportunity to look back, to retrace our steps. And it brings an uncomfortable energy because the planet, retrogrades are so tricky. It kind of retracing our steps and going backwards, losing that forward momentum can feel unsettling. It can feel like no progress is being made. And it can really shake things up. So know that Pluto is in retrograde right now, and it can cause a desire for wanting to cling to power, to authority, to wanting to create some sort of understanding and certainty. Retrogrades can bring a lot of uncertainty overall because the energies are different. They weren't the same as they were. So Saturn is going into retrograde on May 12th, and Jupiter is going into retrograde on May 14th. So I just wanted to let you know about that. As I'm doing more current astrology updates, I will be going into specifics about what retrogrades for those specific planets mean. I just wanted to bring your awareness that we are in a state of retrograde energy coming into that. And we've been in a state of transformation. and opportunity and expansion and realistic action. So, to end, I want to share where we are going. So these outer planets have been in Capricorn and will continue to transit back and forth in Capricorn until the end of 2020. But what we are moving into with these specific planets is an Aquarius energy. So Saturn already moved into Aquarius on March 21st, but when it goes retrograde, it will go back into Capricorn until it turns direct on the 13th of September. So Aquarius energy is all about the collective community connection. Where Capricorn is all about kind of like fulfilling our individual needs and fulfilling the needs of, my space, what's happening in my space, which it was very interesting to me that Saturn left Capricorn March 21st and went into Aquarius. And it was around that time that the hoarding of supplies was happening. It was like Capricorn, Saturn as it was leaving Capricorn, it was this major feeling of, I need to just fulfill the needs of me and my people, and just hoard the supplies so that way I can fulfill and give my people what I need. That's a very much an extreme kind of like traumatized Capricorn energy, is that fear-based. I need to just take care of myself. Where Aquarius is when we take care of each other, when we celebrate ourselves as individuals and celebrate our unique, diverse experience and ways of thinking, we can celebrate each other in our communities. And when we do that, that is when we thrive. And that is where we're going, into Aquarius energy, with the outer planets, as well as on this like much bigger 25,000 year scale that maybe I'll do a video about at some point, where we are leaving the Pisces era that we've been in since the figure known as Jesus Christ came into our awareness. That started the Pisces era. And we are now leaving that era, and we are transitioning to an entire area of Aquarius, energy of Aquarius. So I'll be doing more about Aquarius energy, but that is where we're going, guys. We are leaving the energy of just fulfilling our own personal needs, individual-based mindsets, and going into a community collective-based mindset. So I think that was everything I wanted to share in general. I'm just going to say that I filmed this in one go. I've been practicing this for forever, guys, okay? So usually I sit down and I practice and I record and I end it and I do new things. And this was just all in one go. So I might have rambled. Only an hour. Awesome. I wanted it to be an hour. So that's perfect. I do want to end with the information about natal charts. So with all of this is all very generalized information. If you want to get more specific, we look at our natal chart to understand the different planetary bodies and where they're at and what signs. And there's a whole nother aspect called the houses that are like this stage that the performers tell their specific stories and their themes. The houses are so important, but that really is an individual story. So if you would like your natal chart read by me, please hop on over to unleashingthemagicwithin.com and hit subscribe. And when I am ready, I will be sending out an email with a form to everybody who is subscribed to fill out your birth chart information. And when you send that to me, I will go in order of those received and be sending out natal charts. These are by donation. My natal chart readings are by donation. I have been using people's. There's been a lot. One of the silver linings with this crisis is there's a lot of online by donation opportunities. I've been taking dance classes. And so since I'm utilizing people's by donation services, I also want to give one, which is my natal chart readings. And then from there, if you want to learn more, you want to explore more, I'm doing 1-hour consultations for $15. So that is where I'm going. And thank you for being patient with me as I've created this update and continue to practice natal chart readings, as well as giving new updates, because this is just one aspect of the cosmos and what's been going on. Lots and lots of information. And if you want more up-to-date and weekly updates, follow Transparent Matrix. I have always been linking them in my content. I will link them again because they give like 5-day updates every 5 days. Every couple of days they're giving updates on what's happening in astrology and go into very good specifics. So there's all of that. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave comments, please leave questions, anything you want to hear more about. I'm really intending to create content that gives us context to what it is that's going on in the cosmos. So as we cope through and get through these areas of transformation, I am sending you so much love and so much compassion in the space that you are in. Know that you're not alone, that this is a really tough roller coaster. And if you ever need anyone to commiserate with, please reach out to me. I'm always here to listen and validate that you're not alone and your experience is so valid and you will get through this. Each one of us will get through this. So thank you so much. Have a blessed rest of whenever you are watching this, and peace.